Hey guys, I'm still having a problem with that GSG 1911. Getting light strikes real bad. We did get the accuracy up just a little bit, not as much as I had liked, but we're still going to peck at that. But today I'm going to take a closer look at the firing pin. Is really what I'm going to do. I may make some changes, I may not. We're going to take some measurements. We're going to look around at it. We're going to see if we can get a little bit more consistency out of it. Hopefully get rid of the light strikes. I've got a hunch, and we're going to see if I'm right. I might be, might not be. We're going to find out. Okay, here's what I got. This, if you can see it well enough, is the ZR Tactical Solutions extended heavier duty firing pin. Alright. This is the factory firing pin. I don't know if you can see it, but there's differences in the thickness and the length of them. Oops, I'll find it in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spec them out. We're going to measure them. We're going to weigh them. We're going to measure length and width. And then I'm going to get to what I think might be going on. Alright, ZR Tactical Solutions, we're going to do that one first. Don't know if you can see this. The striking surface comes all the way out to the tip. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's 2.281. That's how long it is. Thickness, we'll zero out again. That right at 81 thousandths thick. Now let's do the factory. And as you can see on the factory, I guess you can see it, the striking surface, the actual primer contact surface, is set just a little bit further back. The idea of this was to have a longer firing pin, 2.221. And we are my hands are cold. It's cold and nasty here. We're looking at 78 thousandths thick. Alrighty. Now the high performance ZR Tactical pin, get a weight on it. That's that's about 76.4 grains. That's on the ZR Tactical. let's get the factory. That would be 72.4 grains. Okay, here's what we got. The factory is almost exactly 4 grains lighter than the ZR Tactical Solutions. The length of the factory is 2 inches 221 thousandths of an inch. ZR Tactical is 2 inches 281 thousandths. So there's a significant difference there as far as length. The thickness in the factory is 78 thousandths. The thickness of the ZR Tactical is 81 thousandths. Now I checked the inside of the firing pin channel and it's about 83 thousandths. So while that is a little bit of wiggle room, it's not a whole lot. My theory is this: I think number one, I think they got the thickness wrong. I think they got a little too much thickness. I think that the length is a good idea, but I don't think it's going to work out because that extra length adds weight. And this is a little small 22, and even though it supposedly has a 20-pound hammer spring, which I do not buy that, not one bit. I wish I had a way to measure that, but I don't believe that's the case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the factory firing pin and I'm going to pin it in the back to give it just a little bit more length, because once I went to the ZR Tactical, I actually had more failure to ignite. Those light strikes just got worse. And like I said, my thinking on that is that the firing pin itself is maybe just a little bit too wide, builds up some friction going through the channel, and with the increase in density, or weight rather, I feel like that it's just not able to transfer energy as quick and hard enough when you combine those two things. We're going to start out with the factory firing pin. I'm going to pin it out, and we're going to see if that increases performance. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the ZR Tactical firing pin and we're going to do some modifications on it. We're going to remove some weight, and we're going to probably do some polishing and streamline to it. the corners on the ZR Tactical are just really sharp, whereas as the factory is not. So I think that could be a contributing factor too, as far as being able to pull the trigger and get the appropriate amount of kinetic energy from the hammer to the primer on the shell. We're going to find out, and we're going to start with the factory. Now here we go with my fancy railroad iron anvil. Serves the purpose. I don't really need a $400 anvil. I'm not a blacksmith. But we're going to try to ping 3 spots right here, because this is the impact zone for the hammer, right through here. We're going to ping 3 on this side, 2 on the other side, and see if we can get a few more thousandths out there. And if that kind of shows some improvement, then we'll have a better idea of what we can do with the ZR Tactical firing pin, which is, as you saw, heavier and thicker. So we're going to ping this and see what we can get out of it. God damn it, that hurt. This is a hard little piece of metal, as it should be. Peening hardened steel is not the easiest thing to do. All right. After we pinged it, 2.227. That's a gain of about 5 to 6 thousandths of an inch. Let's see if that's going to help us out. Alright, here we go. These are the changes that I made to the ZR Tactical Solutions firing pin, which is right here. First of all, it had some kind of coating on it. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I took it off. Originally, it was 2 inches and 281 thousandths of an inch long. I left that. I did not change that parameter at all. The original thickness was 81 thousandths of an inch. I did narrow that up. It's down to 78 thousandths of an inch thick. The weight originally was 76.4 grains. The new weight is 70.7 grains. Now, the way I did that is I removed a little bit of material from here and from here on both sides. I did not remove it any deeper than, I think it was about 3/1000ths of an inch, maybe 4. I can't really remember. I didn't note that. Should have. But that took the weight down. Now it's lighter. It should move a good bit quicker. Now, the striking face right here, from this section to this section, that's the actual firing pin striking face that impacts the back of the cartridge. The width of the original striking face was 46/1000ths of an inch. I did not change the angle of the face, but I did cut it back far enough to where I've got 37/1000ths of an inch now in width of the actual striking face. Also softened these corners right here just a little bit, not much. Now, the overall firing pin, if you look at it from the front, these corners are very, very sharp. I softened these corners up just a little bit. I used, it was 800 grit wet sandpaper, but I used it with oil. And I cut it back just enough to give it a little bit of better edge. Been doing machine work most of my life. Sharp, hard corner like that tends to cut and dig, no matter what it's riding in. So, unless you're dealing down into the microns with some very precise machinery, dead sharp corners, in my experience, are not really good for performance. Also not good for wear on the base material, because the base material that this is going into is not aluminum and it's not steel. It's like some kind of magnesium alloy. I'm not 100% sure. And this is tool steel, so harder steel across a softer metal is going to cause problems, especially if you've got sharp corners to catch and dig. Cleaned it up, polished up. I cleaned the cuts on the inside, were kind of rough. I cleaned that up, polished it out a little bit. Cleaned this up, polished it out a little bit. And right here on the front, where it goes under the trunnion on the front of the bolt face, I cleaned that edge up too, soften that corner a little bit. We're going to see if that's going to work. That's on the ZR Tactical Solutions. If this does work, I'm actually going to take this sheet, and it's not to scale, by the way. I'm going to take this sheet and get a better data set on it, spec it out even closer, figure out my radiuses on the corners that I softened up a little bit, and I'm going to actually send this sheet into ZR Tactical Solutions. This might be a problem that is particular to my gun and my gun only. Other people may not have this light strike problem. I don't really know. I take reviews on the internet with a grain of salt, because any and everybody can throw a review up there. So we're going to see if this here works, but hopefully it does. If it does, I'll send my suggestions in. Alright, it's nasty and it's still raining. No end in sight. This is factory firing pin peened. Light strike. Light strike. Light strike. Light strike. Light strike. I think you can see where this is going. Okay, that didn't work. ZR Tactical Solutions, after my modifications. Raining. God, I hate this rain. Way too much rain. Oh. So light strike. Light strike. I wonder if it's the ammo. I think it is. Alright, we're swapping ammo here as well. Light strike. We got more work to do.